Chapter 181, Chief Wolf. A cold glint flashed from Wang Ming's eyes. He stepped a step forward and said with a stern tone, "You can humiliate me, but if you dare to humiliate our Chief Wolf once again, do you believe that I won't fuck you up?" "What a blockhead." Tang Shou sneered. "Society is run by law, and you want to make me a waste? Do you think you'll end up better? Much less that you're just an ant in my eyes. You think you can waste me relying on your trivial, useless martial art? Are you joking with me?" At this moment, Scarblade Chang, who was in the driver's seat, quickly came over after hearing the quarrel outside. He glared angrily at Wang Ming. Even though he knew that Tang Shou didn't need his protection, but he still stared and shouted angrily regardless, "Who the hell are you? Do you dare to be arrogant before my boss? Do you believe that I can't fuck you up dead?" "Huh?" Wang Xiang's expression suddenly changed, his eyes were a bit shocked as he looked at Scarblade Chang, and called out, Are you Big Brother Chang? Boss Scarblade Chang?" Scarblade Chang's brows pricked as he glanced at him and replied, "You know me?" Wang Xiang, who was not sure about Scarblade Chang's identity, quickly revealed a panicked expression as Scarblade Chang personally admitted it. He pulled Wang Ming's hand as he squeezed out an obsequious smile, saying, "Big Brother Chang, I really never thought that it'd be you. I was with my boss Crippler Lu when I first met you. Anyways, it should be a misunderstanding. My older brother doesn't know that he's your boss. Let me advise my older brother to let him join and follow your boss also." Scarblade Chang replied, "So you're one of Crippler Lu's boys. That kid has gone astray recently, and I heard that he will run into bad luck soon. But since my boss took a liking to your older brother, I'll tell you now in advance, quickly take your time to prepare and leave this place, otherwise..." Wang Xiang's expression turned pale and hastily asked, "Big Brother Chang, what do you mean? Could you tell me about the specifics?" Scarblade Chang sneered, "You heard me clearly. Crippler Lu's lover is involved with some shitty powder behind his back, but that thing surely will be his downfall. I heard that some of his boys are also involved with it secretly. I have some connections in the police department, my drinking buddies. They told me this when we had a drink." Wang Xiang's body shivered. However, he understood what Scarblade Chang said. If Crippler Lu's lover was met with some bad luck, then all shit deeds he had done would also come to light. He and some other boys also had committed some crimes when they were following Crippler Lu. And if... Tang Shou glanced at Scarblade Chang's eyes and said indifferently, "Cut it off. Don't scare him. At first, I thought the army had made a man out of him. But I didn't expect that he would be such a good-for-nothing trash. Let's leave." "Stop." Upon seeing Tang Shou was about to turn around and leave, Wang Ming suddenly shouted with a deep tone. Tang Shou turned back and sneered, "What is it? You wanna have some practice?" Wang Ming said with contempt, "You want to exchange blows with me with your frail body? I warned you. I told you that no matter who you are, if you dare to humiliate Chief Wolf, I will make you pay the price." Tang Shou gave him a crooked finger and sneered, "I'll give you an opportunity. You and I will spar. If I win, you'll go with me and tell me the whereabouts of this Chief Wolf of yours. But if you lose, not only I won't kick your little brother's problem to the pit, I also won't let him be dumped into jail for the entire of his life. I can even straighten him out. Wouldn't make the problem more severe and help him avoid prison for life?" Wang Ming instantly understood the meaning behind Tang Shou's words as he shouted angrily, "Are you threatening me? You're shameless and despicable." With an apathetic expression, Tang Shou replied, "Talking with you made me realize some problems. You might be a retired special force member, but you're not really one of the elites. But it's fine with me. Those soldiers who are involved in secret ops missions in foreign countries putting their life on the line, and facing death back and forth, they are the true elites and the real soldiers. I'll cut the crap with you now. Do you dare to have a bet with me or not? You decide. Shaking his head, Wang Ming said, I can promise you that I'll work for you if I lose. But I can't tell you anything about Chief Wolf. Moreover, I won't do anything against the law. Coward. Tang Xiu ridiculed him as he turned toward the SUV and left. Wang Ming gripped his fists tightly as anger flashed from his eyes. Just as Tang Xiu walked for 3 or 4 steps, he instantly dashed, and within a short 2 breaths, he blocked Tang Xiu's way. His legs fiercely swept toward Tang Xiu's cheek. Humph. Tang Xiu moved as fast as lightning. He accurately caught Wang Ming's bare feet without mistake. Along with pulling him closer, his palm instantly hit Wang Ming's chest. With the tip of his toe, he lightly picked Wang Ming's other naked foot and instantly took him down. Is this all you can do? Tang Xiu didn't continue attacking but asked with contempt. Wang Ming was actually astounded with Tang Xiu's strength. It deterred him, but the humiliation and anger in his heart were much stronger. He leaped up from the ground as though a carp and violently sent a barrage of fists toward Tang Xiu. Pa! Tang Xiu used his hand to catch his fists. As he shook his head, his feet flew and kicked Wang Ming's chest, sending him flying backward. Then, he indifferently said, You're not at the same level as me. To average people, you might be considered to have some ability, but in front of me, you're not even as good as ants. If I were not in dire need of manpower, I wouldn't have tried to look for you. Wang Ming was completely flabbergasted. The pain in his chest made him sober up. He realized that what this young man said was true. Compared to this young man, he truly couldn't be considered as an ant. He had faced countless of opponents in his entire life, but to have lost so miserably against one was the first time. He also had never come across such a strong expert like him. In his heart, Chief Wolf was very strong. Even if 3 or 5 people, along with him, had to face Chief Wolf, they wouldn't be his match. However, he was certain that Chief Wolf also wouldn't be able to make them unable to fight back and lose strength like this. This young man was even more terrifying than Chief Wolf. Who are you? Wang Ming covered his chest as he looked straight at Tang Xiu, and asked. If you want to know who I am, you have to follow and work for me. You have my word that in regards to committing crimes, I have had and never will touch that on my own initiative. But if there are any who resort to crimes to offend me, never will I give them mercy. Loyal men are what I need, and they have to firmly obey my commands. Tang Xiu said. Wang Xiang, who was near Scarblade Cheng, could see that Tang Xiu didn't even use his full strength. He was worried for his big brother, but he held back his urge to help him. He was extremely shocked, because he knew what his big brother Wang Ming was capable of. A few days ago, he and his friends were being ganged up and beaten by another group of thugs, but his big brother then came and beat a dozen gangsters armed with knives bare-handed, and only got a few bruises. But now, this powerful brother of his was beaten up by this young man easily without even being able to fight back? What kind of strength this young man had? Big Brother Chang, what's your boss line of business? How could he be so powerful? Wang Xiang asked with a low voice. Scarblade Chang glanced at him and said indifferently, I don't know. He didn't know? Wang Xiang was astounded, saying, How come you don't know? You work for him, but you don't know what he does? Big Brother Chang, are you joking with me? I really don't know. I only know that my boss is very powerful and rich. He's the boss of a large corporation. But other than this, I know nothing about him. Scarblade Chang said apathetically. But, you still dare to follow and work for him? Wang Xian was surprised and continued asking. Scarblade Chang squinted his eyes and lightly said, The boss is very generous and also a good man. I can tell that my future will be promising if I follow him. Wang Xiang was stunned with his answer. Tang Xiu looked at Wang Ming and calmly said, "You don't need to answer me now. What I need is not 1 or 2 men. I need a team. If you comply, take along your chief wolf to Star City to find me. I live in Southgate Town. Do bear in mind that you only have 3 days. Passing 3 days, even if you come, I won't accept you anymore." After having said that, he turned around and walked toward the Toyota. The moment he had boarded it, he suddenly paused and turned his head, saying, "Well, I seem to have not spoken my condition. If you work under me, I'll give your brother a stable life and your own place to live. I can even guarantee both of you a future." The off-road car's engine was started. Wang Ming and Wang Xiang looked at the leaving SUV with complex expressions. Wang Xiang actually didn't mind everything Tang Xiu had said, but Wang Ming fell into silence. He was struggling inside. He used to live with guns and spilling human blood. He was 30 years old. And every day now felt like years. He felt really uncomfortable living as a commoner. He had been struggling and suppressing this feeling in the last few months, but to live each and every day that felt like years was truly nothing but a torture. Should I contact Chief Wolf? What's the origin of this young man? Wang Ming's expression was constantly changing. Wang Xiang elbowed him and said, "Big brother, I dare say, if we go work under that big boss, later on, we really can live a good and colorful life. I know that Scarblade Chang, he's a ruthless and merciless big brother in Songbei City's streets. But now, he's following that person, so I think we should also give a shot." "Shut up." Wang Ming scolded him with a low voice. With a resentful expression, Wang Xiang replied, "Big brother, take a look at our shitty looks. Our bodies are full of dirt. We also have shitty pays. Don't you want to live a dignified and good life too? Besides, I'm still young and I don't have anything. But you're more than 30 years old now, and you don't even have a wife. Do you want me to be just like you and still a bachelor when I'm 30 years old?" Wang Ming hesitated. He knew very well that his younger brother was right. But he didn't know the background of this young man. He also realized that the other party goaded him, trying him to move him with promises. But still, with such a powerful martial arts foundation, he still wanted to employ him? "Big brother, if you don't agree, I'll go to Dad and Mom's graves and complain." Wang Xiang glared angrily at Wang Ming and shouted. For a moment, Wang Ming was silent. Then, he slowly replied, "Gimme some time, I'm going to find some of my comrades and then go to Star City. Even if I ever work for him, it will be after I've clearly investigated his background." "Great, then I'll go with you." Wang Xiang was overjoyed and blurted out without thinking. Wang Ming looked at him coldly. He shook his head and said, "No. You can't go. I'll find my comrades, they're the ones who'll go with me. And you'll stay obediently in Songbei City. If I find you didn't listen to me, you can be sure I won't take you with me after I work for that rich boss." Chapter 182, Paying Debts. Star City Train Station. Ouyang Lulu was wearing a black-colored leather attire, black duckbill cap and big black sunglasses that blocked part of her beautiful face. Holding her own arms, she leaned on the pillar near the stopping platform in the station, watching the visitors going out unceasingly. Her mind was occupied with the thought as to how to bring Tang Xiu along with her to Jingmen Island. A few days ago, her mother, who she had not seen for all year around, returned home. She stayed at home and had a chat with her. Her mother even knew that Tang Xiu went adventuring in Prime Forest Mountain Range and told her to invite him as a family guest. She knew that Tang Xiu had just finished his college entrance test. And she also knew that Tang Xiu would return to Star City today, so she hurriedly rushed to the train station right after she arrived at the airport. This great lady has personally come to Star City to invite him. If he dares to refuse, I surely will bite him a few times. As she thought about it, a tinge of a smile was revealed on her face. Suddenly, she left the stopping platform as she found Tang Xiu's figure amidst the crowd that was going out. Her eyes immediately shined and quickly greeted him. Eh? How are you here? Tang Xiu looked at Ouyang Lulu with her cool appearance. Even though she was using a duckbill cap along with big sunglasses that covered almost half of her face, he still could recognize her with a glance. Ouyang Lulu took off her sunglasses, revealing the looks of a beauty that could bring disaster to a nation and its people. A curved outline was drawn on her mouth as she said with a charming smile, "Of course, it's to see you. Anyway, how about it? Are you surprised? A big, pleasant surprise?" "It's indeed a pleasant surprise. I was thinking to catch a cab or a bus to go home," Tang Xiu said. The smile on Ouyang Lulu's face froze as she kicked Tang Xiu's foot and angrily said, "Are you still thinking to make me your coachwoman again?" Tang Xiu didn't dodge nor he felt pain. He smiled and looked at Ouyang Lulu as he said, "Well, if you want to know, being able to be my coachwoman is truly an honor for you, don't you think so? A lot of people cry bitterly just wanting to become my driver and I refused all of them. Anyways, let's go, you've got yourself a lot of eyes looking at you." Ouyang Lulu turned and looked around. She did see that a lot of visitors looking at her. To be precise, looking at her breathtaking looks. However, she also found that Scarblade Chang behind Tang Xiu was also the same. Her brows pricked as she asked, "Tang Xiu, who's he?" Tang Xiu turned his head and looked at the dumbstruck Scarblade Chang. He was obviously charmed by Ouyang Lulu as he lightly laughed and said, "Well, he's a talented man I came across in Songbei City, so I brought him back to Star City to work for me." Scarblade Chang furiously swallowed his saliva with eyes reluctantly parting from Ouyang Lulu's face. He was quite a serious and famous boss in Songbei City, but at the moment, he was actually defeated by Ouyang Lulu's appearance. It made him embarrassed as an awkward expression was drawn on his face. If he was in awe toward Tang Xiu because of his martial skills and financial resources before, then at this moment, that awe turned into respect and worship. He had seen numerous women, but he had never seen such a beautiful girl like Ouyang Lulu. Even this femme fatale unexpectedly rushed to the train station to pick his boss. And surprisingly, the boss was making this Belle his coachwoman? Outside a high-end hotel in Star City, Tang Xiu sent Scarblade Chang off. He arranged for him to stay at this hotel for a few nights and told him that he would pick him up tomorrow. Then, Tang Xiu himself went with Ouyang Lulu, who drove her car towards Southgate Town. On the road, Tang Xiu dialed Shen Zhizhong and Kong Xia's numbers and told them to visit his villa in Southgate Town. The harvest he got from this adventure was quite a lot. He had received a text message notification that 2.5 billion yuan had been transferred to his account. He also had made the arrangement as for how to allocate this sum of money. At the courtyard of his villa in Southgate Town, Ouyang Lulu parked her car in the parking spot as she asked curiously, "Is this your home?" "Quite classy." Tang Xiu opened the trunk and took a big black travel bag from the inside. Then, he said, "Long Zhengyu gave me this villa." Ouyang Lulu smiled. Long Zhengyu truly has good vision. Well, the rate return of his investment is absolutely great, I think. I heard you helped him with a big one, giving his family's company quite a fortune, no? Tang Xiu smiled but didn't pick the topic up. After entering the villa, he saw that Mu Qingping was busy in the kitchen. Then, he came directly to the kitchen door and said, "Big sis Mu, we'll have some guests tonight so prepare more meals for later." "All right." Mu Qingping revealed a smile upon seeing that Tang Xiu had come back. When she saw Ouyang Lulu behind him, she smiled all over her face, saying, "Ah, it turns out to be Miss Ouyang. Welcome Mississippi." Ouyang Lulu said with a smile, "Hello, Sister Mu. Where's Enine? I haven't seen her around." She's in the conference room with her course tutoring. Looking at the time, it should be finishing soon. Mu Qingping replied. Watching Ouyang Lulu entering the kitchen, Tang Xiu no longer spoke. Then, he went to the study room on the second floor and took out the 2 blocks of sky sandstones from his bag, and placed them on the topmost rack of the bookshelves. I don't have a safe box. Tang Xiu pondered for a moment and made up some decisions in his mind. He went back to the first floor. Ouyang Lulu was still in the kitchen, helping Mu Qingping with the cooking, while Qin Zhizhong had arrived and was waiting in the living room. Master. After Qin Zhizhong acknowledged him as a master, he was very respectful toward Tang Xiu. Tang Xiu waved his hand and motioned him to sit on the couch, saying, "Tell me your bank account number. I just got some money recently, so I'll pay you back first." Master, I consider that money as my filial piety to honor you. By principle, in no way must it be returned. Besides, I'm not short on money. Chan Zhizhong hastily said. Tang Xiu replied, I'll give you the money nevertheless, and I'll keep some of it for emergency uses. Don't you also have a medicine business yourself? Later on, you also have to send me some medicinal herbs from the list of medicinal herbs I'll give you. Those herbs will be used to make some concocted pills that will aid you. Concocted pills? Chan Zhizhong's eyes shone as he respectfully replied, Thank you, master. Immediately after, Tang Xiu transferred 2 billion yuan with e-banking to Qin Zhizhong's account, and then asked, How's your cultivation practice recently? Have you transformed all of your true qi into true essence? Yes, I've already transformed it completely, thanks to the recent intake of medicinal herb soups, but I still have to forge ahead diligently. Master, my strength is at least twice as strong as before. Tang Xiu said with a smile, Your cultivation level is just barely a step onto the immortal cultivation threshold. It's still far away from the future path. Respectively, until you have reached the golden core stage and the nascent soul stage, it would be just a small and great accomplishment for you. Only after you've reached the immortal stage will you be considered to have met my minimum requirement. A longing expression was revealed on Qin Zhizhong's face as he firmly said, Master, this disciple will do everything to meet your requirements in cultivation. I'll never dare to neglect it. I'll also wholeheartedly find those medicinal herbs you need. Ring, ring. Chan Zhizhong's mobile ringed. As he took out his mobile and saw the transfer remittance notice, he looked up at Tang Xiu and asked with astonishment, Master, you just transferred 2 billion yuan to my account? I did. You received so quickly? Tang Xiu said. Still shocked, Qin Zhizhong replied, No, not yet. But I just received a remittance transfer notice that the money should arrive in my account tomorrow. Anyways, Master, what did you do that you can make so much money within such a short time? Tang Xiu lightly said, I just sold some things to 2 cultivators. Hiss. Chan Zhizhong was astounded. What did you sell that's worth so much money? Nah, it's not that valuable. One is a set of immortal cultivation technique, and the other is a beast subduing secret art. Unfortunately, those 2 cultivators are too poor as they can only come up with a few billion. Otherwise, I could have gotten a few more billions. Tang Xiu shook his head and replied. A few billions worth was still considered as too poor? Chen Zhizhong could only smile wryly inside. The total net worth of his wealth was only around 10 billion yuan. But in Tang Xiu's eyes, this was not necessarily at the level of the well-off. 10 minutes later, Kang Xia had arrived at the villa. Upon seeing that aside from Tang Xiu there was also Qin Zhizhong, she nodded at him and then looked at Tang Xiu, asking, Boss, is there something you're seeking me for? Tang Xiu said, Well, isn't the company short on liquid money? Anyway, I got some money recently, so I'll transfer 300 million to you. You can use the fund for now. Call me again if it's insufficient. You have 300 million? That's great. Kang Xia was pleasantly surprised. Tang Xiu replied snappily, it was not easy to make that money, you know. So you must give your best to save and fully utilize it. Manage the company to the right tracks as soon as possible. Kang Xia laughed. Boss, since I got this 300 million from you, I guarantee that before September 1st, our company's initial stage will be completely implemented. Also, I have already contacted some banks in Star City. As long as we can show them some legal proof about our company's health and strength, we should be able to borrow quite a big sum of loan from them. Huh? Bank loan? We also need to borrow some loans from the bank? Tang Xiu knitted his brows and asked. Yes, according to my business plan, the estimation of the investment funds we would need is at least 3 billion yuan. And the liquid funds our company has at present is far less than this number. So, we will need the loans from the bank to implement the plan. Kang Xia nodded and explained. Tang Xiu said, all right, you'll handle and arrange this issue. Also, are you still busy right now? Pretty much. I must go back quickly after this. Kang Xia replied. Well, forget it then. It's just that I still have another project that I'm preparing. Originally, I was going to give this project to you as well, but since your hands are still full, I'll find another person to handle it. All right, since everyone has arrived, let's have some dinner first and then you can get to your work again. Tang Xiu said. Kang Xia quickly said, Boss, you have another project? What project? It should be a good project. She had never expressed, but all the projects she had right now, such as the healthcare products, clearly had an obvious huge profit. Even if it gave her quite the hardship and was quite tiresome, but she was willing to do her best. In addition, she was also deeply impressed by Tang Xiu, and she believed that every project Tang Xiu thought would certainly be very good. Well, I want to build a winery, producing and selling wines. Tang Xiu said. Wines and liquors? For a moment, Kang Xia stared blankly. Then, she asked, Boss, do you have a recipe and formula to brew wine? How's its flavor? I have a recipe and formula. You can be sure that it should be a very good wine. Also, I want this drink to be considered as the world's best wine. Tang Xiu said. The best in the world? It was the word Kang Xia liked the most. Her laughing expression and beautiful eyes turned crescent-shaped as she said, Boss, the mark hung on the winery's name must be our magnificent Tang Corporation's. Also, I can make it as a subsidiary company, so I can still control its general management. We can pass the minor things to the lesser management under us. Chapter 183, Small Gathering. Looking at Kang Xia's high fighting spirit and the happy expression on her, Tang Xiu asked with astonishment, Didn't you say your hands are full already? And you still want to manage this? Well, just say the word and I'll squeeze some time for it. It should be fine. Kang Xia said. Tang Xiu was at a loss whether he had to laugh or cry. You won't get burnt out? With a high-spirited manner, Kang Xia replied, Boss, you can rest assured. I'm well aware of my own well-being and the situation. I know I have to ensure my own health to do my job to the best of my abilities. Tang Xiu thought for a moment, then slowly asked, Anyway, do you mind if I ask you something private? What private question? You can ask me anything, Kang Xia replied with a puzzled expression. Tang Xiu asked, I've never asked about your family. Do you have family members? For a moment, Kang Xia looked distracted as a touch of desolation and grimness flashed from her eyes. But then she shook her head and replied, I was brought up by my American foster parents. But they have passed away a few years ago in a plane crash. I do still have a maternal grandmother, she's married a foreigner old man. It's been nearly a year since I visited her for the first time. Tang Xiu nodded and made a decision in his heart. Then, he said, in order to ensure your health, I'll teach you a set of cultivation exercise. But do remember that you are the only one who can practice this cultivation technique, and not in any way must you pass this to someone else. Also, you're not to tell anyone that you're also a practitioner. Exercising a cultivation technique? Kang Xia was quite dumbfounded as she replied. Boss, you're kidding me, aren't you? You think we're still in ancient times, exercising cultivation practice, using true qi and becoming a martial worlds expert? Tang Xiu's brows slanted. His body then instantly appeared at her side. With a lightning-fast move, he grabbed Kang Xia's shoulders and threw her to the air. Along with the turning of his wrist, Kang Xia also rotated in the air. She screamed, but Tang Xiu ignored it. In next to no time, he already flashed and took along Kang Xia as they appeared outside the front gate of the villa's courtyard. Bang! Tang Xiu put Kang Xia down. Her body staggered and then fell down with her bottom on the ground. This is... After she fell down, Kang Xia looked dizzy and distracted, but there was not the slightest anger on her face. Instead, her face was full of shock. She looked at the surroundings while her delicate body slightly trembled. She was frightened. Yes, what she had experienced just now was as though a dream. If she hasn't experienced it firsthand, she simply wouldn't have believed it. Tang Xiu said lightly, "You see that we're at the courtyard outside?" Yes. Kang Xia nodded with a dull expression. Tang Xiu grabbed her shoulders once again. He raised his speed to the limit. And within just 2 breaths, they had returned back to the villa's hall as he even had Kang Xia back on the sofa. Now you believe that the martial experts still exist in the world? Kang Xia straightened up her sitting body and looked around. An alarmed and frightened expression was revealed on her eyes. After looking dumbstruck and tongue-tied for a while, only then was she able to speak. Boss, I know that you're a powerful martial art expert when you took me to kick the plaque of the Rising Dragon Martial School. But, to be this powerful was beyond my imagination. I can tell that even those martial worlds experts can't achieve such a level. Tang Xiu smiled. You do have a good vision and judgment. I indeed am not a martial art expert, but an immortal cultivator. Perhaps, you haven't seen such people in reality, but you must have seen these immortals in Xianxia TV series or in the movies. But, the real immortal cultivators are much powerful than those in the movies. They can control the forces of nature and can fly with flying swords. The truly powerful ones are even literally able to pick the stars and the moons and easily traverse everywhere in the starry sky, without problem. Immortal? Kang Xia exclaimed out loud in disbelief. Correct. Gaining enlightenment and becoming immortal isn't a difficult matter. I'll teach you an immortal cultivation technique. If you practice well, you have the possibility to ascend and become an immortal in the immortal world. With a shocked expression, Kang Xia asked, Boss, does our world really have the immortal world just like the one that's passed down in the fairy tales? Tang Xiu said with a smile, the immortal world in fairy tales is way too small. Wait until you obtain enlightenment and become an immortal if you want to see what would the real immortal world looks like. You will see what kind of marvel and magnificence it has. By the way, I'll teach you after the dinner. And do bear in mind to never mention about this to anyone, ever. Kang Xia nodded. Suddenly, her expression moved as she asked in a whisper, Boss, you just asked about my family. Are you afraid that I'll tell this to my friends and family members? Yes. Tang Xiu continued tranquilly, I want you to become my true subordinate instead of an employee who just seek wages. I can assure you that your world will be unceasingly expanded. If you follow me, in the future, even if you want to tread into the void and adventure in the vast and boundless universe, it will be easy. Kang Xia furiously swallowed her saliva down as her breath turned faster. Then, she asked, Boss. Can you teach Andy too? She has been following me for years, and she's absolutely worth the trust. Also, her background is much pitiful than mine. She has no family left. And she has no other friends aside from me, Jack, and a handful of others. Andy? Tang Xiu recalled the beautiful angelic-looking girl as he slowly nodded and said, "Call her then." He didn't ask more details about her case. Even though he had heard from Andy that she and her parents had once lived in China for a few years, but just like the changes in fate and time, people had their own fortunes and misfortunes. Since Kong Xia said that Andy was also an orphan, perhaps, her parents also encountered unexpected misfortunes. Chen Zhizhong was sitting quietly on the side with a smile on his face. Tang Xiu was pulling Kong Xia to be his direct subordinate. This made him quite happy as Kong Xia, after all, had quite formidable capabilities. She was definitely one of the proud women that could lift her head up high in the business world. If she could be made dead set on following Tang Xiu and worked for him to the best of her abilities, Chen Zhizhong believed that Tang Xiu could make a lot of money, which, in the end, will become the tool for an endless stream of access for cultivation resources. Suddenly, his expression moved as he glanced at his mobile screen and asked, "Master, since you want to build a winery, could you let me invest in it also? You have your own medicinal herbs business, what do you want to invest in the winery for?" Tang Xiu said. Chen Zhizhong let out a forced smile and said, "Actually, I think my endless virtue pharmaceutical has already expanded to the limit. I have long planned to expand to other fields, but I haven't found any suitable targets for investment. This is why I have quite a lot of spare liquid funds. If I don't invest in your winery, perhaps, I'll invest in other projects." Tang Xiu thought for a moment before he slowly nodded and replied, "Take out 500 million, I'll give you 10% of the shares. You don't need to worry about the management since I've found the manager for the winery. So you'll have the dividends every year. If you still have some spare cash and you're interested, you can contact Long Zhengyu. He and I have a cooperation in a little real estate business. I believe the prospect is good and can make quite a fortune." Originally, Tang Xiu didn't have the intention to let other people be involved in his winery business. After all, he was very optimistic about its prospect. However, he was short of money right now. If even Chen Zhizhong was going to invest, giving him the shares was truly not a problem also since he was, after all, his own in-name disciple. So to say, it could be said that the water and the fertilizer wouldn't flow to the outsiders' fields. Chen Zhizhong was overjoyed. He realized that acknowledging Tang Xiu as a master was truly worth it. Not only would he be able to tread on the path to immortality, but he was also able to gain harvest in business. Without a minute's hesitation, he nodded and said, "All right, I'll contact Long Zhengyu then." Tang Xiu said, "About the matters related to business, you can directly contact Kong Xia. I have too many things at hand, I have no time to manage the businesses." At this moment, Ouyang Lulu came out of the kitchen wearing an apron. When she saw Chen Zhizhong, her eyes brightened up slightly. After all, she had seen him quite a lot from his interview in financial magazines. However, when she saw Kong Xia, her brows slightly pricked. It was because she was beautiful, to the point of extreme. She had no choice but to admit that whether it was the bodily figure, looks, or even bearing, Kong Xia was not below her. A few days ago she also had heard that Kong Xia was working for Tang Xiu. He even handed over his newly set-up company to be managed by her. But this was her first time meeting Kong Xia here. "Boss, this one is?" Looking at Ouyang Lulu, particularly seeing her in an apron, Kong Xia couldn't help but have an inconceivable irritated feeling without her realizing. Oh, she's Ouyang Lulu, the gal who, well, ignores the proper occupation in Jingmen Island. But anyhow, she's my friend. Lulu, she's Kong Xia. My right-hand woman. Tang Xiu introduced each other. Ouyang Lulu rolled her eyes at him. If it wasn't for Tang Xiu's remark of my friend as well as Lulu, she would have snapped already. However, she was also quite happy inside even though she still pretended to look dissatisfied and resentful. She snorted and replied, what's not a proper business here? My Paradise Club is a decent and honest business, okay? Opening a casino is a decent business? Tang Xiu said with a bit of surprise. Ouyang Lulu replied, of course it is. Every time they gamble, we're in international waters. So we don't violate any country's laws, no? Also, you know that gambling is legal in Taiwan too, don't you? Tang Xiu secretly shook his head. He was too lazy to refute Ouyang Lulu's glib rationale. But for Kong Xia herself, she was quite curious toward her upon hearing Tang Xiu's explanation. How do you do, Miss Ouyang? How do you do, Chief Kong? The two women shook hands for the first time, with a trace of peculiar thoughts in their minds. On the dining table, Guyin had just finished her tutoring course. Tang Xiu also invited the tutor to have dinner together, while also asking the progress of Guyin's learning once in a while. Mr. Tang, Guyin is truly very smart. She has an eidetic memory and good comprehension. This is the first time I've met such a student like her. About the second grade curriculum, we'll have it finished in the next 2 days, and we also have started preparing the third grade one. However, the teachers for the fourth, fifth and sixth grade curriculum won't be handled by the three of us anymore. The middle-aged female teacher showed a bit of a forced smile. Then, she continued, it's not because we can't teach the curriculum for the fourth grade and above, but it's because we have come to our limit and are too tired after preparing the first 2 grade curriculums. Tang Xiu said with a light laugh. It's all right, as long as the next teachers are also as excellent as you, I'm content. Ouyang Lulu looked at the both of them and asked with astonishment, the speed of the lesson prepared by the teachers cannot follow the students' learning speed? What's this fallacy? The teacher smiled wryly and said, it's because her learning speed is really too fast. Judging from her current learning speed, if we keep going like this, perhaps she really can complete all the courses from the 2nd to 6th grade before September 1st. Ouyang Lulu looked at Guyin with disbelief and asked with astonishment, she has yet to finish the 2nd grade curriculum now, no? How come she could finish all the contents for next 4 grades within 2 or 3 months? Even the other child prodigies wouldn't be able to do it, right? Chapter 184, Fight. Guyin's tutor could only say helplessly, those child prodigies might be unable to do that, but Guyin is the exception. I've been in the education world for more than 20 years and naturally, I also have seen quite a few gifted students. But even the smartest one is not 1/10 of her. Teacher Huang, you need not praise her. You need to be careful, lest she becomes prideful and complacent. Tang Xiu said with a smile. Guyin replied with a grin, Master, I won't become arrogant and complacent. Master? Surprised as he was, Chen Zhizhong spoke, Master, is she also a disciple you accepted? Tang Xiu said with a nod, yes, she's my direct disciple. You can call her junior sister later. Chen Zhizhong furiously swallowed his saliva as he looked at Guyin with a shocked expression for a long while. When he acknowledged Tang Xiu as a master, he didn't have any disciple at that time, but now he even had a junior sister? Also, he was well aware of the meaning behind direct disciple. He was but only Tang Xiu's inane disciple, while this little girl in front of Tang Xiu was a direct disciple. The difference in status was truly quite far. Hesitating for a moment, Chen Zhizhong watched Guyin as he then nodded at her and said, Junior sister, we just met today for the first time. This senior brother didn't know about you before, so I didn't prepare any gifts for you. But I promise I'll give you a gift next time we meet to make up for this. Guyin happily laughed and replied, Thanks, senior brother. On the other hand, Ouyang Lulu looked at Tang Xiu with a peculiar expression and asked, Tang Xiu, You accepted so many apprentices, what kind of things are you teaching them? Well, I have a lot of abilities. As long as I can teach those, then I'll teach it to them. Why? Do you also want to acknowledge me as a master? But I have a very strict standard in accepting apprentices, so you must take the test. Bah, only ghosts want to acknowledge you as a master. Ouyang Lulu snapped and rolled her eyes. However, she realized the moment after and quickly looked at Chen Zhizhong, saying, Mr. Chen, about that, I didn't mean it. I'm really mad and confused by this fellow, so I blurted out improper words. Please don't be offended by my words. Chen Zhizhong shook his head whilst smiling. He watched Tang Xiu and Ouyang Lulu's expressions whilst feeling strange inside. The dinner had ended. Chen Zhizhong and the tutor then bade farewell and left. Ouyang Lulu didn't want to stay in the hotel, so Tang Xiu let Mu Qingping arrange a guest room for her. There were only him and Kong Xia in the living room as Tang Xiu then spoke to her, come to my room. After Andy has arrived, I'll teach the both of you together. Kong Xia looked at him with a limpid expression and slightly nodded. If it was another man wanting her to go to his room, she would definitely turn around. But it was different with Tang Xiu. She could see from his eyes and expression that there was not even a trace of feeling between man and woman. She was even quite angry inwardly, for she believed that she was very charming, but how come her charm had no effect on Tang Xiu? In the main room of the second floor, Kong Xia followed behind Tang Xiu. She looked at the room with astonishment. She thought that a man's room would be a mess, and it would be no different with Pig's Nest. But Tang Xiu's room was particularly clean and neat. The quilt was stacked very neatly, and all the things here were arranged in order. She could even smell a faint fragrance of jasmine flower. Take a seat here and call Andy, asking where she is right now. I'm gonna take a bath and change clothes first. Tang Xiu spoke and pointed at the sofa in the corner. All right. Kong Xia took out her mobile as she watched as Tang Xiu took out some clothes from the cloakroom and then walked into the bathroom. Then, she could clearly hear the sound of a door being locked from the inside. He locked the door from me? An expression of being at a loss whether she had to be angry or amused was revealed on her face. More or less, she was also a femme fatale. If it was another man, perhaps they already couldn't hold the urge to quickly throw themselves at her. But her own boss unexpectedly locked the door because of her? Was she a tigress? A hypersexual woman who was hungry for sex? Kong Xia shook her head and then dialed Andy's number. After knowing that Andy would arrive at Southgate Town 10 minutes later, Kong Xia put her mobile back and carefully observed Tang Xiu's bedroom as her eyes finally rested on his clean bed. A woman's inner heart truly was a seabed of needles. It was her first time entering Tang Xiu's bedroom. Curious as she was, she slowly walked to the bed and carefully swept over the bedding. The result made her satisfied that there was not even a trace of long hair belonging to women. She couldn't find any single short hair. He's really a good man who knows his place. No. He should be a good boy. Kong Xia revealed a faint smile. Her eyes then landed on the photo frame on top of the bedside table. The picture on it was Tang Xiu with a middle-aged woman. Knock, knock. The bedroom's door was knocked as Ouyang Lulu then walked inside. As she saw that Kong Xia was sitting on Tang Xiu's bedside whilst holding a photo frame, she suddenly frowned, showing a displeased expression. If I'm not mistaken, this should be Tang Xiu's room, so why are you here? Feeling the cold remark from Ouyang Lulu, Kong Xia was also incensed and replied apathetically, You think I'm not allowed here? You. Ouyang Lulu was angry. But she didn't know as for how should she refute it. After hesitating, she coldly snorted and asked, Where's Tang Xiu? I want to ask him about something. He's taking a bath now. Kong Xia pointed to the bathroom door and said. Tang Xiu knitted his brows. After pondering for a moment, he then told a lie. Kong Xia has been working days and nights. She's very busy managing the business. Her health condition is indeed not quite good. So it's nothing wrong to give her the treatment. As for Andy, she's also one of the top management in the company. She also needs to recuperate her body. Suddenly, a smile emerged on Ouyang Lulu's face as she said, so you let Kong Xia wait in your room because you will treat her? Of course, what else did you think I'd do? Tang Xiu replied. Ouyang Lulu waved her hands over, and then said with a smile, I thought that she wanted to seduce you. It seems I was worried for nothing. Huh? She won't do that. And why should you worry that she will seduce me? Just hurry up. What did you want to speak to me about? Pig-headed. Stupid. The instant Ouyang Lulu said it, she secretly regretted it. But as dumbfounded as she was, Tang Xiu was even more unable to figure out the meaning behind her words. She had seen unromantic and insensitive men, such as those in the TV series. But a dense man such as Tang Xiu was really one of a kind. Have he still not developed it yet? Ouyang Lulu couldn't help but glance at a certain spot on Tang Xiu's body. Her mouth couldn't bear to twitch a few times. Aware that Tang Xiu was watching her, she quickly tossed away the wretched thoughts, and said with a smile, Actually, it's not a big deal. I just want to ask whether you have the time to go with me to Jingmen Island. What for? Tang Xiu asked with a confused expression. My parents want you to visit our family. So they asked me to invite you. Ouyang Lulu said. After involuntarily laughing, Tang Xiu then said, Are you sick? I'm a Chinese medicine doctor, I can treat you. Why would your parents be that good to invite me? I don't know them. Before she went to Star City, Ouyang Lulu had long prepared a good reason for this, so she replied with a smile, Have you forgotten what had happened in the KTV before? Had you not come in time to rescue me from those bad guys, perhaps, I wouldn't be able to protect my chastity and dignity. So my parents want to thank you for this directly. Chapter 185, Genuine and Honest Thoughts. Tang Xiu shook his head and said, That's already in the past, but thanks anyway. Also, I don't have much time, and in the near future. He suddenly stopped talking. Guyan's pale face as though paper, suddenly appeared inside his mind and pained his heart. After being silent for a moment, he changed the subject. In the near future I will go to Jiangmen Island. But I'll have to squeeze some time for it. Anyway, we will talk about this later, after the time comes. Ouyang Lulu, who previously thought that Tang Xiu would refuse, suddenly showed a happy smile upon hearing the following reply. Okay, then. We'll go to Jingmen Island tomorrow. No, I don't have time tomorrow. Wait for a few days. If you have nothing else to do here, go back first. After I find some time I'll contact you when I've arrived in Jingmen Island. Tang Xiu said. Ouyang Lulu replied. The reason why I came to Star City is to take you there, to begin with. If you don't want to go tomorrow, then I'll stay in Star City and wait for you. Besides, it's not like I have nothing to do in Star City. You got something to do here? Tang Xiu asked in surprise. Ouyang Lulu raised her small face and proudly said, Did you forget that Long Zhengyu and I have a joint venture for the project? I heard that recently Long Zhengyu has been trying to buy out some plot of lands around the building. Surely I'll involve myself in this. Besides, I delegated the management for Paradise Club to my subordinate, since I also want to have my own legal business. So, I have to consider the site for the business and also the concrete preparations. Tang Xiu said with a smile, You're really a rich young woman. You need not worry though. I assure you that cooperating with Long Zhengyu will only give you profit, you won't have any losses. You're so confident. Ouyang Lulu asked with a smile. Tang Xiu replied, "Don't forget that I'm the one who drew the blueprint design for the building as well as the business district and residential area in the surrounding. If those buildings cannot become the landmark of Star City, I won't have the face to receive that promised 10% share from this project." Immediately after, Tang Xiu sent off Ouyang Lulu to the guest room to rest, as he then headed toward the living room in the first floor. From Mu Qingping, he found that Andy had arrived and was in the study room with Kong Xia. He didn't hurry to see them, but headed to the storehouse. Chu Yi had found a batch of precious medicinal herbs for him, so he needed to look at their grade. A few minutes later, Tang Xiu was standing in the storehouse with a satisfied smile. The medicinal herbs Chu Yi had helped him to find were truly good. A lot of them were wild herbs, and the ages were also satisfactory. With these batches of herbs, it was sufficient for his cultivation in the skin strengthening stage, and even enough for the flesh strengthening stage. I have to cultivate and reach the peak of skin strengthening stage as soon as possible. I'll have to register to the university before September 1st, so I have to break through from this stage to the flesh strengthening stage. A resolute expression was revealed in his eyes after he looked at these herbs. In his mind, he could refine several concocted pills from these. The pills won't have much effect for his cultivation, but rather will give him a very strong foundation, solidifying his spirit and body. Thus, he wanted to break through from the skin strengthening stage to the flesh strengthening stage earlier. However, he also needed to find a place with rich spiritual qi, so it would be easier to absorb the force from the stars. Not only did spiritual qi act as a medium for star force, but it could also be fused within. The more solid his spiritual qi, the smoother and easier the absorption of star force would be. Also, spiritual qi would bring a good effect on him. It would nourish his internal organs, to be fused with his star force and speed up his cultivation practice. However, the efficacy of concocted pills wouldn't give much effect to his cultivation, it would benefit his body. The stronger his body, the faster he would be able to absorb the force of the stars. After leaving the storehouse, Tang Xiu returned to the second floor and went straight to the study room. As he saw Kong Xia and Andy seriously trying to identify and memorize the acupoints on the mannequin, he asked them, "How is it? Have you looked at it?" Kong Xia turned and smiled, "Boss, there are too many acupoints in the human body. Even if you give us a few days more, I don't think we can identify them completely. Besides, we only just tried it a moment ago. Come, I'll teach you then. The cultivation technique I'm about to teach you would only need to pass through a few meridian channels. All in all, it would be 108 channels only. These 108 points in a whole are called as the Great Heavenly Circuit, while the smaller ones that branches out of it is called as the Lesser Heavenly Circuit. I'll explain these to you in detail when I have the time later." 2 hours later, Tang Xiu taught the two women about the acupoints as well as the cultivation technique. Certainly, the both of them became the human body models, as his finger touched their body's acupoints many times. There were also some points located on some sensitive spots of their bodies, but Tang Xiu didn't stop because of it. There was not the slightest ripple in his heart. As for Kong Xia and Andy, these two couldn't help but blush and tremble for numerous times while in the learning process. "All right. Both of you put away those dirty thoughts and follow the meridian channels according to the cultivation technique I've taught you. Slowly and quietly let it wander and float in your chest. Keep this in mind. Imagine that you've already produced this qi and now are going to induce and sense its flow. After you can control and sense the qi flow, circulate it slowly everywhere according to the route in the cultivation technique." Dirty thoughts? Kong Xia and Andy glanced at each other. This remark caused them to be at a loss whether they had to laugh or cry inside. They couldn't help but roll their eyes. Their bodies were constantly being stroked as well as ignited them. And the one who did that was also a grown-up man. How would they possibly not feel embarrassed? Who wouldn't have ideas when those spots were being stroked? However, these two women also perfectly realized that Tang Xiu didn't have such thoughts toward them. Otherwise, they would have left full of anger already. In accordance with the instructions given by the cultivation technique, the two women slowly imagined it. After a full of 10 minutes, they opened their eyes at the same time as they turned toward Tang Xiu and nodded. Tang Xiu said, "Keep in mind these meridian channels. Later on, practice it at least 10 times a day. Also, since the two of you are still unable to sense your qi, therefore, I'll have to teach you the method as for how to perceive and sense it first. Only then will you try to control it again. According to your aptitudes, it would take perhaps 2 to 3 months at least, before you're able to perceive the existence of qi." 2 or 3 months? The two women exclaimed. Tang Xiu said, "What? Are you not determined enough? All right, I'll tell you this. If you can't persevere, you'll only be an average person in the future. You must have the dream to achieve the Tao and become an immortal first at least. Only from then on will you be able to reach an end." Kang Xia and Andy looked at each other. Both of them especially had firm determination, to begin with, so they gave their assurance in unison. "You can be certain that we will get through this." Tang Xiu replied, "This is your matter either way. I've taught you the cultivation technique as well as instructed you. So I hope that you two would really be able to become my right hands later. Therefore, the final result will be depend on your efforts and good fortunes only." Right, it's already quite late, so you should go back now. With a smile that was yet unlike one, Kang Xia said, Boss, you don't want us to stay overnight here?" Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "You have your own place, why should you stay here for? Go home. Besides, we all have things to do tomorrow." Kang Xia replied with some dissatisfaction, "Boss, are our charms really unable to make you interested? Could it be that these two great beauties are unable to make you aroused or moved?" Tang Xiu said with a confused expression, "Why would I have to be aroused? I admit that the two of you are very attractive, but what I need are subordinates, not women to warm my bed. Anyway, it's better if you don't let your minds run wild. If such thoughts control your mind over and over, how will you be able to help me make money? Boss, are you telling me that we're just tools for you to make money?" Kang Xia angrily spoke. Andy also spoke resentfully, "Boss. Men can't wait to pull us to their bed when they see us. But you, how come you're like a stone?" "Yes, you're just like a stone." Tang Xiu calmly said, "No, I have never thought of you as tools to make money. But I regard you as my subordinates, my own people. I do need a woman, but not now. In the future, maybe I'll find a woman for myself, a woman that's nice to look at for me to marry. But that would only be to fulfill my mother's wish and to carry on the family line. But don't talk to me about feelings and love, for I don't need it." Listening to Tang Xiu's reasoning fallacy, Kang Xia refuted with unfathomable disbelief, "You don't want to talk about affections and feelings. But then, what would be that marriage for? Even if you want descendants to carry on the family line, it mustn't be like this, no? It should be perfectly justified, right and proper. How come you?" Tang Xiu apathetically said, "In the future, fidelity and chaste love will fade away and then disappeared along with time. Even soulmates most intimate with each other will betray the other. I need a woman. But love? I don't need it. And if I don't accidentally die, my lifespan will be very long. In the long years of life, having a woman at my side will mean nothing but trouble." Kang Xia and Andy looked at each other in dismay. The two of them were exceptionally intelligent. Even though they had never been in love before, but it didn't mean that they never heard nor were unable to understand it. They were acutely aware of something. Tang Xiu seemed to have been hurt by a woman, for which the wound and pain inside his heart were way too dark and deep. Who was she? And judging from Tang Xiu's age, shouldn't he Suddenly, Andy showed a smiling expression as she looked up and stared at him, saying, "Boss, do you see me as a woman who's nice to look at?" Tang Xiu stared blankly. Even Kong Xia couldn't help but have a strange expression. "You look good." Tang Xiu nodded. Andy said with a grin, "Boss, since you see me as pleasing to the eye, if you wish to find a woman who will give you a child in the future, then find me, okay? Although I'm much shorter than Big Sis Kong Xia, I'm very cute and lovable. So I believe the child we've should also be very cute. Our little baby." Tang Xiu waved his hand and said, "Before I graduate from college, I don't want to talk about this. Anyways, you'd better hurry. I also have to rest early." Shortly after, Kong Xia and Andy left Southgate Town after Tang Xiu drove them away. He didn't take the jokes from the two women seriously. But what he had said was the true feeling from his soul. He didn't dare to invest any affection whatsoever regarding women, for the betrayal he suffered was something he never wanted to experience again, ever. In the first-floor corridor, Ouyang Lulu was standing before the window, watching Kong Xia and Andy through the curtain as they walked to the courtyard. Looking at them, they boarded a Lamborghini and quickly left. Only after they left did she finally relax. She was quite shocked after seeing Andy's delicate and lovely looks. But she was also startled upon seeing as how Tang Xiu was still able to control himself. She had never thought that Tang Xiu would be able to stay firm and not succumb to the beauties, Kong Xia and Andy's temptation. He even asked them to leave later on. However, she was really satisfied and very happy inside. Damn it. How come I let my imagination run wild? Tang Xiu is very good, but he's a few years younger than me. If I ever marry him in the future, it would also be a few years later. Bah, poo. What the hell is going on with me? Why do I want to marry him?